What is up, everybody? It is I don't actually even know how many VOD reviews have we done now? Doesn't even matter. We're
3?
here with a special guest, Heather sapphiRe, who was observing this match, and we're going to have her give us her inputs on exactly how observing worked for her in this match. Maybe some things that there's some changes that need to be made, and some issues that she experienced. The challenges of observing this game. This is an amazing game. If you missed it on Saturday, we had the winners final between TSM and Sentinels. Sean and I had the pleasure of casting it, and so that is this Haven. It is it's the second game. Spoilers, and it was the last game, unfortunately. So, without further ado, Heather, thank you for joining us. It's great to have you on. You're our first guest ever for a VOD reviews. This is pretty
Oh
sick.
my God, this is an honor. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, we got to be a part of something pretty special on Saturday. Like, this is kind of a pivotal moment for Valorant esports because of this match. Like, I don't know, TSM win was like trending on Twitter, and yeah, I think honored to be a part of it, and I'm excited to talk about it too. This is gonna be my first time going back and kind of analyzing what I did. And there were some mistakes here too, which again kind of speaks to the immaturity of this game and where we think Riot needs to move it to be a better spectator sport.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
dude.
It's so much
I
potential.
kinda adding to what Heather said, that's what I felt like after this weekend, maybe not this match, but the finals, when I saw the peak concurrence of the finals, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that, like, the esport grew so fast, but I think this matchup is just such a unique rivalry right now, and it's kind of crazy. Like, it reminds me of, like, old school CS, like CS 1.6, where there's, like, grudge matches. Like, these guys legit don't like each other. That's so rare in pro esports these days. Like,
Yeah,
you rarely see that.
Yeah,
and
everyone usually got like the PR responses like, yeah, they gave it their best, we gave it their best. But man, they're out for blood, and you actually love to see it. It was fun.
speaking of people who don't like other people, we've got Mike as well. We got he's he is
Back
here
from the
to
dead.
yeah. Your internet was like what was it? What happened in Iowa? Just basically, just everyone's internet. Like I think 400,000 people's internet just died.
Yeah, basically we just had like hurricane wind speeds in the middle of Iowa, which is always fun. So, but we're back
Jesus.
now and time to do the show on the same day. So,
Right. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you're here to do all the tech stuff because otherwise I was going to have to do it, and we all know it would have turned out really poorly. So, right. So why don't you kick us off, Mike? What do we got to start with?
yeah, so for this pistol round, I really like this idea coming out of TSM. So, they're basically playing, oh, wait, never mind. Sentinels are playing retake B and C with, I think it's Dapper's cam inside of B. And then they do double a short push and double long push at the same time. And they're also going to start droning up when they get through lobby here, which really benefits them because the drone also destroys trips, which is really helpful because it doesn't always give that like indicative sign that someone's always flanking, but it clears it out for them. And by now TSM have already taken B, and I think they recognized from Cutler's call that they had to take back spawn control. And this is, I remember in the cast, you guys were kind of confused because, like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, at the time, like the defenders and the attackers are flipped because the round started pretty quick from the feed cut. And TSM will replay it once again after this, but they start taking A link control because of that mid pressure from the A lobby flank. So as soon as that
Yeah,
trip breaks, then they start taking A link.
that's crazy. So, actually, I mean, like, TSM got a little bit fortunate here that they moved so fast. Like, they moved so ridiculously fast into the B site, but then at the same time, if, like I feel like if Sentinels threw anything at B to deter that exact thing, they would have been, like, on top of them. Like, the timing worked out really well, but I'm a little bit disappointed that I don't know, like, TSM put no pressure on A at the start of this round. That's very weird to me. Like, they were just going completely in the dark, just directly to B. I guess it's a pistol round. They just
Yeah,
risked it.
it was very unexpected. And I just want to make one quick note before Heather tells us about the observing this round because I know she has a few things to add. Guys, we have emotes. We've got some super sick emotes there, so please start using them for all the subs in the channel. I think we've got a Mike Stone. We've got. Do we have all of the Sean ones? Let's have a look. Yes, we got the Sean Big Brain. So get that ready. That's going to be popping off this stream for sure. All right, so enough distraction from me, Heather. So obviously we can see there's a little bit of crazy shit going on right
It's a
now.
little wonky here at start, and this is one of the problems with Valorant observing. Like right now, there's 2 slots in the game, and you have to be in the game, and there's no like Go TV where normally like a producer, especially when you're doing this remote, would be connected to the Go TV, and um, they're just basically getting a copy. They're putting out an auto director, and the auto director is actually me observing. But in Valorant, like we physically have to be in the game itself. And then when you're remote observing, you're not in a production room. There's all these different connections you have to do. So for example, Prius actually started observing this match, and he was on using something called Parsec, very similar to like TeamViewer, and he was connected to the producer's PC, who's streaming it on OBS or whatever. And that connection dropped right here. And so then the producer's trying to take over. It's a little fumbly. And then I was supposed to do third persons for this map. And then they switched to me, who I'm live in the game, and I'm broadcasting my game to the producer via a private SRT server. So it's kind of complicated. It's much more difficult
Jesus.
than normally I would do a CS:GO. And then again, if just you lag a bit, like it's essentially going to cause an issue with the broadcast. So I would love to see Riot do something like a Go TV server in Valorant, and that would help a lot of the production issues.
I
Oh,
guess
shit.
that would kind of come into play as well with like an actual demo system too. I think those two kind of go hand in hand, which from what I've seen from Riot, it's just because the engine, since it's Unreal Engine 4, apparently doesn't have very good replay support in the first place. So I'd imagine hopefully some of those would both come out like at similar times since they're kind of hand in hand.
Yeah, agreed.
Probably
Like,
so, yeah.
that's feels necessary to be a top esport, and for teams to have those tools too.
And I know with Sean and I as well, obviously there's the challenge of how can you get the feed without delay to the casters as well. So I know that there's like a slight delay with what we're seeing and that kind of coming through as well, just a minimal delay as well. So I was actually like, I kind of like, again, given all of these things we've just described, all these technical challenges and issues, it was actually amazing how well everything actually came through. So but with that said, let's check out the next round unless anyone has anything else to add.
No, I'm down to hop in.
I was going to ask Sean about this because I've seen Dapper do it a lot, and I don't think Dapper's a bad opper, but I noticed earlier, Sean, you were playing ranked and someone was opping a Cypher in your game. I don't think opping a Cypher is necessarily the best thing because I noticed Dapper was struggling a lot in the series on Bind, or maybe it was the upper grand or the actual grand finals, but my thing with opping as Cypher is you're just trying to struggle between actually holding an angle with your op but also using your cam at the same time, because obviously you can't do both at once. And I just feel like Cypher is more suited towards like a rifler role. I don't know what your take is on this though.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you could. I guess so. Yeah, it'd probably be better if he was on a rifle on attack. On defense, I guess he could use his cam to like switch around and like change angles, like knowing that someone wasn't peeking something with his cam. Yeah, attack seems pretty difficult. He might have just been feeling it. I don't know. He might be used to like going for a certain type of pick. Maybe this long, or yeah, he's going for the long pick.
Yeah,
It could just be because he's the A player. That
Yeah.
actually makes a lot of sense too. Because if he plays passive on the site, then he can basically just like op people when they get hit by trips, like through smoke. So it's like, say he's heaven and he gets smoked off. If someone hits a trip, he could just op them, which and then he can get away. Whereas if he had to like stop and like spray a rifle, he could probably get killed through the smoke.
Yeah, and I think it's good
Maybe that's why.
protection against lurkers as well, because if there's like some kind of a setup where someone is trying to lurk against Cypher, the operator is going to be a way better solution than a rifle. So in that 1v1, so I can also see that as an argument for defense, but attack is definitely pretty. It feels kind of rough.
Yeah, so this round, so let's play it through here. So he's opping long A. He does the cam above the wall, so he can kind of use that too. If they gain ground on him, he can use that cam to maybe try to peek out and get one, but they cypher, cage the cross, and then walk out. So this forces him back into sight, but he still has his cam, so he can check this info long when he wants to, but there's double holding short for now. And then I think basically this round just changes because then TSM, after they know they pushed him off that long control, they go back towards mid and they catch Shazam out on top of B site.
Yeah, he has like a bulldog, huh?
Yeah.
I remember this. Okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's why Dapper has that op, because that's their setup at A. Like he takes that shot at the corner and the guy is like short and he just ends up, they like kind of do a bait setup on short. It's like just like an entire play, right? Like it's like first if I don't get this pick long, then I fall to that. And it's one of the few things they probably have as like a new team.
I remember in the cast, I was pretty confused by the risk that Shazam took in this particular round, because the fact that you know that you're against Vandals or Phantoms
Yeah.
and Lawn, and you're in a position where you're making the statement, I'm going to take a fight with that position. And so that confused me a lot.
That was a super risky spot. I agree. Like when I saw it in the match, I was like, whoa, that like doesn't fit Sentinel's playstyle at all. I was kind of like thrown off by it when I saw him up there with like the bulldog. But I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely weird that he played up there.
Is he spacey? Sean, you've played with him in matches. Does he like sometimes think it's the pistol round or something?
No, I mean he's definitely really good with the bulldog on burst. Like
That's
he
fair.
has that like perfect aim for that kind of stuff. I don't know. Maybe you just have to take a fight somewhere. I guess, unless they trip it up, which I don't think they did. So
Yeah.
I don't know about that being like the most optimal fight though in this round. I agree. Like the Vandals flying around, and obviously everyone has a Phantom on their team right now, but it's just risky.
There's one thing I think about it is that obviously he could be saying, I have the dash, so if I miss the first burst, I just dash away and I'm fine. So that
That's
could
true,
be
yeah.
one thing as well, but to mitigate that, but it is still, yeah, it's definitely not optimal, but yeah.
And then just a few observer thoughts from me, and some of this is just setting the stage here. So, in Counter Strike, all the tournament organizers have their custom HUDs right now, and they've done a really nice job of, you can see all the information, money, weapons, utility, KDA, all in one view. And so the TOs, especially because they've worked so hard on these overlays, they don't want you to bring up the scoreboard. Like I'm always told as an observer, don't bring up the scoreboard unless the caster's asked, and then we bring it up. But here in Valorant, we have to. We have to every round. I hold it throughout the entire freeze time. I'm still kind of getting used to it. Sometimes I'll have the producer in my ear yelling scoreboard, scoreboard, because normally I wouldn't do this in freeze time. The information's already presented to you. And then what I'm doing as an observer is I'm looking at all the guns of like, okay, who has an op this round? Does Sinatra have an Odin? Like this is my best opportunity to see that information. And then something else that happened in
That's
this round, and it's very minor, but I switched to the wrong cipher, and that's something just getting used to in Valorant compared to CS is, you're in CS, you've got 1 through 0, and everyone's got a number, and here you've got 2 ciphers and 2 jets, and your mind instantly thinks, okay, I got to quickly switch to cipher. And I picked Dapper, who's just sitting alone in A doing nothing, when I meant to switch to Cutler, who might have got peeked by Brimstone in Garage. Fortunately, we didn't miss any action, but that's just some of the little weird things about Valorant. I don't know how you fix that yet, whether you assign players numbers or not. But it's just sometimes your mind just picks the first cipher you see.
That is, yeah. When you told me that, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. But I will say that with the scoreboard thing, that was really awesome that you're doing that, because when we were casting, I've done very little casting previously in Valorant, but like not having any information basically ever, it's like it's actually so difficult, and it would be so nice if we actually could see more, like just
Yeah,
like utility, just
exactly.
something. extra, but hopefully they're working on some stuff for that.
And then the last thing here is Drone gets these awesome kills if you can
Oh
play it,
yeah,
Mike.
this
And
is
it's like,
insane.
well, we can't really see it because we're blind.
Yeah.
So that's
Oh my god.
unfortunate.
Whereas in like CS for observing, right, they're like it shows like the really pale white right over
Yeah,
when
it's
they're
a pale
blind.
white, and there's almost like an icon in the screen that shows they're blind, without you as the viewer actually being fully blind.
Dude, that's
So disgusting.
That's such an insane end to that round. So the reason why Shaz I think was safe top site when we watched it back. So Zoms is playing like garage area and he smokes the window. So as long as no one like initially comes out of that smoke, Shaz would get a sound cue if someone jumped out that window. So there'd probably be like a flash. There'd probably be something. No one in this game is going to jump through that smoke dry, like and try to fight the guy B. That makes no sense. So Shaz is top site, knowing that a guy is going to peek lower right, and I think because of that, it's probably not so bad. I would say he actually probably wins that one-on-one fight like 60-40.
I think
mean,
they
wouldn't-
also
don't
had
you
a
think?
trip from B as well, so it wasn't like he was in the worst
Yeah,
position with that either. If they do
I think
contact him,
he was probably going to take that fight and fall, if I had to guess. Like looking
Yeah.
back at it one more time, I actually think it's not bad at all anymore because he knows he's just gonna get a one-on-one on that fight. He just happened to lose it. I don't know. I still think that like it's pretty. He definitely had the advantage from where he was.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I'm on board. I remember this round.
yeah. So this round was when all the money was a mess, and they brought out like I think they had 2 rifles, a stinger. Dan's got a cat, but so Shazam gets the ult out here, and I thought it was really weird because you can tell from the main map here. I'll pause after the flash goes because it also gets rid of the mini map, which is also annoying. But Hayes was towards C long, and they were obviously doing like a garage to C split with how everything was positioned here, because you can see towards A, they had a cam watching A short push, they had a C long trip. This was something we can talk a little bit later too, but there's some tricks that you can kind of see like in freeze time where people place utility, especially sapphiRe, that can kind of give you some insights into what's happening in the round, which I think is like way easier than CS to try to figure something out. But yeah, so Hayes gets really caught off guard there with the bomb, and then they have to cancel the split, which just creates a lot of chaos, which makes this partial buy work really well because they have really tradable positions.
Yeah, I agree. That first kill on Hayes is like what really put the cards in motion. That's so insane. That's so insane. When Jets ult like that, they dash at you and they updraft. They're so hard to kill. They're so hard to kill.
Well, that's one of the things like I've had to learn as an observer. Like, when Wardell and Shazam are buying shorties all the time, and like normally I wouldn't switch to like a long range shorty engagement, but I mean all the time they're just dashing forward and just getting these ridiculous kills, which is so annoying. So something like I have to try to watch out for. Like I gotta look at the scoreboard. They've got a shorty. Okay, it's Jet. Like what engagement is he going to take, and like Wardell does it all the time now, this player behavior.
I wonder if it's something that people will be able to adjust to, because it feels very difficult to deal with. Like I don't know if it's you can really, like I feel
What's
like if you
up?
were to try to
Updraft?
adjust for like the Jet crazy
Yeah.
shenanigans, I don't think that you can really adjust to it because you'd have to like.
I mean, the problem is that when she does that, when she's ulted and updrafted, you don't know the height of her, so your crosshair placement is always going to be worse than hers. And she has an instant hit scan item that can one-shot you. So she has a massive advantage because she knows the height of your head, but you have no idea where in the sky she is. So like your crosshair is going to be somewhere random, you know?
Yeah, seems fair.
Yeah. It's not. And then she gets her blades back if she gets a kill. So I don't know. I think her ult is a little bit insane right
The
now.
right click is particularly.
It's pretty
insane.
obnoxious sometimes.
I feel like the right click that's like if I was to change anything, I think that's too
Yeah.
good.
I think I mean the fact that she gets all of her knives back with every kill, the right click can kill people. She can die with her ult out, get rezzed, and get her ult back. Like, what other agent is like that? That's insane. Like, why does she get her ult back? What? That's crazy. She died already. I don't know. I think she needs a slight nerf, which is
Well,
crazy because I thought she was like so weak in beta. And here I
yeah,
am.
yeah. It just goes to show everyone making tier lists. Well, I won't finish the thought because we've been there so many times. But anyway, so we've got an eco round coming up here, Mike.
Yeah, and I was looking for your guys' input on this too, because I think one of the weakest part of TSM's game right now is their anti-ecos, or like these weird buy scenarios where they have like 2 stingers or something like that. It might just be against Sentinels too, because I know like they have really good eco plans, but I just feel like that's kind of a weakness in TSM right now.
Quick side thought, Sean. Do you believe in stingers yet?
I use them a little bit. I don't know. I don't really.
He's not melting anyone yet.
They're all right. They're all right. They're not as bad as I thought they were. I'll say that.
Okay, not the answer I was looking for, but okay.
So Shazam tries to just get the orb because it's kind of a throwaway round with a smoke at long, gets killed through a smoke. And then TSM are just going to contact up long here with this pick. And I think Drone also drones in to A site here.
Yeah. This is where like they start to commit up, but they don't fully trust it, right? So once he gets spotted by this guy, look how slow they are right now. Like probably 6 seconds passed from when that guy got jump spotted. That's too slow on an eco. Like that's way too slow. And then the bomb commits up anyway with only 2. There was just clearly a lack of communication going on. Like I think Wardell was under the impression they were going to go back to B. If you watch the minimap, like he's actually running down long back towards B.
I think he got dinked and dashed out like right away. He was trying to like save himself because they commit and then Drone got killed and then he dashes out when he gets dinked by the stinger.
Yeah. Can you go back again?
Yeah.
Okay. So they.
So walking up, then they drone, and then
yeah. See, like he like literally is running back, like out towards B, but yet these guys are going into the site.
It's really smart as well. Like, Dapper, like after getting spotted, actually takes ground towards short, which is really powerful then because his teammate, he gets a teammate into the position behind the site box a moment after that as well. And they still think that he's behind that box, so they have no idea that he's about to peek them from there too. There's like so many small things here that was basically Sentinels capitalizing on the fact that TSM didn't just commit or had hesitation. Like there's so many small ways that they took advantage of that. It was really cool.
So good, dude. That Brim ult that forces, it cuts them away from the Phoenix. That Brim ult was actually so good.
This wall from Sick is great too. Just like isolates them around the bomb.
It's like the initial kills were definitely TSM's fault, and the fact that they lost the spike up there is bad. But holy fuck, did Sentinels use their utility well in that 3-on-3? Like that was, it's actually incredible. Like almost all their utility is just perfect.
I remember when we casted this, we were just like in awe of just, we it's like you said, we focused on like that initial mistake, and then it was like, wow, these guys, like Sentinels actually played this so insanely perfectly after that fact. It's crazy.
And this is where I'd love to have like an easy way to switch to third person point of view. So again, I'll go back to what we do in CSGO is Prius and I have like just a disgusting amount of cameras. We can go anywhere on a map and get the coordinates, bind that to a key, and then we use a stream deck and we have a picture and we know exactly like we click that, it's going to pull out the third person. So love to have that in this game where I could pull out and show that, clearly the Phoenix and the Cypher are now separated because of this Brim ult, and then the Phoenix wall, and you show that nice separation. I think that would be really nice. Right now, we can kind of do third persons with the second observer, and the producer has to bring it up in a pip, but it's just so much easier if I could just click a button, my stream key, and pull it out into a third person.
Yeah, I totally agree. It would look so cinematic too, because the game has a lot of really like pretty like particle effects and everything, and It's I feel like it's something that's gonna really help because like CS can be kind of chaotic when when a set piece is happening, but in this game, it's actually impossibly hard to keep track of all of the action across an entire site with all the abilities firing off. So I can't wait for until that's in the game.
Dude, by the way, that's so insane. Sick actually used his run it back right there. That's such a risky play, a 3-on-3 eco round. But he used his run it back and it did a shit ton of damage when he peeked long.
Yeah, and it bought them a little space and buys them like all the info as well that they're pretty much
Yeah.
gonna have to commit.
That's such a sick play. The risk in that run it back was actually very high. He would have looked so stupid. So dope.
Talking about previously, you mentioned how Jet basically creates, basically messes your crosshair placement up massively. I love the timing as we just saw it play out there. How you get, Wardell just updrafting behind the smoke just before his teammates burst through the smoke. That's actually awesome.
That's pretty insane.
And tidbits like that are actually very doable for people playing matchmaking and stuff, I got to say as well. But what are we looking at now, Mike?
There isn't really anything like super sick going on this round, but I just wanted to talk about freeze time differences compared to CS. Because if you know about CS, like when you spawn in, you're all just standing still in random positions, so there's not really a whole lot of info unless it's like a really spawn dependent map like Dust 2. Like if you see, okay, certain Opper has a long spawn towards A on Dust 2, then you might think, okay, this might be a point of interest to be watching at the start of the round. But obviously in this game, you get like a lot of time to run around, set up utility, or have a lineup ready. So I feel like for both observers and casters, it helps a lot because I know like Sean was really you and Sean both were identifying like a lot of stuff before the round even starts. So like, if you look at the mini map right now, even though the round has just started, you can kind of tell from the positioning of like, okay, so the attacking Cypher tripwires, they're towards A lobby and then C long, but they don't have anything towards mid and they're not really aggressive trips either. So they're just going for a mid control kind of deal here, especially if the Cypher cam towards short. Because I think Cutler, on a lot of their mid heavy defaults, he's just in window making sure no one's flanking them from A lobby. But I was just wondering about Heather's opinion on like the freeze time differences, if it helps observers a lot more in this game.
Yeah, like you said, there's a lot more information to gain in freeze time. Again, like Dust 2 is probably the only map where I have to like immediately react because there could be a pick middle. But this, like, there's going to be engagements immediately in multiple places, and obviously, like here, I could see that Jet was clearly ready to peek sewers there. I think the first game I was observing, Vansili said, "Hey, why don't you show the Cypher cameras being set up?" And I didn't think about that. So showing where Cypher's putting his camera and tripwires, and even on like Ascent, you've got the wall boost outside of B. I think Shazam did that a few times. It's like, well, I gotta see if there's a wall going up before the round even starts. So there's a lot of information and a lot of like player cues about like what's gonna happen based on utility, alts, positioning. So I can't necessarily zone out, like we do in CS:GO. It's like, oh, this is my 15 seconds to check Twitter or something. There's no zoning out in in a Valorant match.
That's the thing that struck me the most when I was casting with Sean. I'm like, holy shit, we don't actually have any time. I was like thinking to myself, freeze time's twice as long. Like, we're gonna have so much time, and it's like actually, there's way less time than CS.
Yeah, I was talking to my stream about this. I was like, casting in Valorant is 100 times harder than CS. Like, it's nonstop. You don't ever get to like have a break in Valorant. Whereas in CS, like the freeze time starts, and like you guys were saying, you're all in spawn. Everyone has to buy. If casters want to, they can kind of make a guess or suggest what the team should do, and that's kind of what you're talking about. But in Valorant, you watch how the team sets up. Like you watch the who's moving to what barrier, and like if you see a Sova like lining up a recon arrow, actually in this game, I think I did it like the OT. I saw Drone lining up that arrow in A link for 3 people to push A. And I was like, okay, this is definitely going to happen. But in CS, you can't do that. So the freeze time is actually dead time for you to like recoup. But in Valorant, it's like right from the clutch of the previous round, you can't even talk much about the previous round because you now have to talk about how the team is setting up in the freeze time of the round
I
you're
remember
on.
when you said
It's
that. I don't
insane.
remember the round, but you're like, "Oh, Jordan's lining up an arrow." I'm like, "Oh crap,
Yeah.
where is it? I don't know." Like, how does he do
Yeah.
this?
It's insane how like
Yeah.
nonstop it is. It's
Yeah.
kind of exhausting.
It's actually it's it's really interesting because I was thinking about it a lot too, and I was like, if you get a good game, it's actually really compelling because you feel like really dialed in the
Yeah.
whole time. And
Yeah.
so it's actually super awesome, but as you say, like very exhausting. And we have to do such a good job in not in giving up points because you can't talk forever. So you really have to make sure you keep yourself very honest with. There's so many times when Sean would say something, I'm like, oh fuck, I have something extra here, but I just have to like let it go because Sean has to now set up the next fucking shit that's going on, and so much stuff is happening. So anyway,
We should get back onto the round, huh?
yeah,
We're in the weeds. We're in the weeds hard.
in the weeds.
We're in the weeds.
All right, Mike, get us back on track. That's why you're here.
This was your note for round 12, so you can take it
Oh yeah,
away
yeah.
because I don't know what
Oh
you
yeah.
meant.
Okay, cool. Okay, so this is going to be a couple points. So firstly, I wanted to make a point because I have this here, talking about observing. And when you're casting, you want to try to create a narrative right from the beginning that it talks about the strategy and tactics, right? So the strategic narrative usually starts when a team is taking their approach on the attacking side, and you figure out, are they default heavy? Are they a team that's set piecing a lot? Like what kind of openings are they running with? And because that reflects their game plan, their strategies. And then you get to see over time, there's tactical adaptations that come in from, let's say, the defense in this example to counter those things. So if we go back to the beginning of the round here, we have had a lot of these kind of A-long controls. And in this matchup between TSM and Sentinels, much like their first map of Ascent, where there was heavy focus around both teams trying to have better executes basically on the gelato area. Here we're seeing an adaptation where we've got more players stacking towards from Sentinel, stacking towards the A long position. And if we pause it, Mike, for a second, we get the cages coming up basically pretty much every round. It's a part of the default. It's like to just deny that information. There could be people crossing, or what you can do is you can explode out of the cage with multiple players, maybe a flash. Like there's multiple things you can do with it, but the whole point is to win that area early and force the other team to respect it. Maybe pull players, pull utility, or call the bluff in some respect. So you're forcing the other team to take action. So here we have an adaptation where finally Sentinels are thinking, okay, well let's actually try to fuck with them here. We know that they keep going for these A control plays, and so we've got the cage going up. But if we have Sinatra shoot a recon dart behind it, not only will they either have to destroy it and give the sound cue away if they actually want to push it, and if they aren't quick enough, obviously he's going to get the wall hack on them. And Sinatra basically always has an Odin on this map with Sova, which is always fun. So you can punish that, but also they can apply more pressure. And obviously this is not normally where Sinatra plays. So let's also think about that from the perspective of TSM. What does that recon arrow tell them? That it's coming from C long. Sinatra's not normally playing that. Is he swapped out there by himself, or is this actually a play? So it's like all this stuff is happening, and both teams, or rather in this case, Sentinels are basically disrupting TSM's default and putting the question to them: what do you think this means? So basically, that's something I wanted to highlight here because it's a huge change and it's a signal that a play is coming. Obviously, this instance shows that actually there was a more committed approach that TSM wanted to take towards A long, so we get some fun action and a battle over this area. And you can see that there's actually somewhat of an attempt to commit there. Drone actually dies to the Odin, but then they have to reset out of it, right? And look at this as well. So we've got the ult from Sinatra. So after he gets that kill, that ult, because of the angle, and Sinatra's so good at understanding the ult angles, he's able to get info with the ult because of the way that he uses it. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight those few things of what was really interesting.
No, yeah, you're right though. Like I got really excited when I saw him shoot the arrow behind the cage because it's the last round of the half and TSM is on a broken buy. So there's no way they're gonna challenge long dry. So he's fine to just peek that because no one at this level is gonna peek long with like a sheriff or like a Spectre or like a Phantom half armor. Like it's just not a good fight for them to take. So he knows he can just get that arrow off, stick the orb, and then he happens to obviously get vision. And then he knows the blind ult for like down, obviously by the window, which is so insane. Like he just blind ults and gets another kill. And that allows the Cypher on A to ult the dead body. And they just get all the info that they're long. It was so sick, actually. Just that small combination of things.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's such a small thing, but it's just really fun to. I mean, there's so many small things like that in this game that just really get me excited.
Yeah. Oh shit, this is that short A push I was talking
Yeah.
about, where drone's lining up the arrow.
And just from like this image alone right here, so it's 4 seconds till the round starts. So it's kind of confusing from the minimap to try to figure out what Silva's doing, but like Sean identified in the match, he's lining up something for a lobby. But from the players that are on your screen, okay, you can see there's 3 stacked towards short, so they're definitely going to take control together. Brim has his little iPad thing up, so he's going to be smoking off like top A lobby. And then you can tell since Phoenix is there, Sabrosa, there's probably a flash involved, and then maybe Cutler cams as well. But Sean did a really good job of like identifying this right out the gate.
Nice one, Sean.
Yeah, this one, like, I would have never switched to that. Like, I see 3
Dude.
people about to push, and I'm like, what's he
I was
talking
getting so excited. I got so excited when I saw like 3 people line up, and then I saw Silva back there. I was like, oh my god, some insane shit's about to go down. Like, I couldn't even like communicate it because I just got so excited. I was just like, oh my god, this is gonna be so sick. It just didn't pan out the way I wanted it to. I'm not gonna lie. I got a little bit disappointed.
They got wiped, yeah.
It's because like Sentinels actually tried abusing that A long cross cage and actually going
Yeah.
through it at the start.
Yeah, it totally fucked everything up.
Yeah, I don't think people fully understand the value of that cage either for the cross, because yeah, it does deny info, and you could be in short, but it may not matter if someone's spying or Cypher has a cam down there. But the whole point is to keep them guessing between long and short, and if you get them to start committing like multiple people to watching short when you're just letting maybe one person lurk there late round, versus maybe you just do a pop 1 round towards A long through the cage with like a recon dart. It just lets you dictate the pace towards that A fight.
Yeah. By the way, if Wardell pops his ult in that 1-on-2, I promise you he wins.
Yeah.
No, because like he definitely kills the planter, and then instead of having an op out, he gets his knives recharged. That's actually so sick though that he went for the Phoenix body.
Yeah, that was really smart. The
God,
timing
dude,
worked out
this game was
perfectly.
so sick. This game was so sick.
It was a really good game.
Like the fucking level that the players were playing at was so high.
Yeah.
It just seemed like everyone was aware of like everything going on.
Did we talk about, by the way, the drone arrow, we saw that around, but did we talk about what happens if, let's say, we're witnessing a normal default from Sentinels and they make that play? Because I think it's worth mentioning sometimes, like, because we see what happens when, we see what both teams are doing and how that interaction goes. But when you're making a play, like you've always got to consider, okay, well, what is the plan should they not have a stack towards that position? And because I'm just curious, what is the follow up? Because you want the follow up to be strong, even if there's just like one guy there or nobody there. So that's something that's always worth noting when you see a strategy run. Just think about the various things that other team is doing, and see just in your mind, just kind of think about how would that strat and those tactics actually work against those various things that team does. Because that's an important thing to consider when you build these tactics and strategies. Because you're not always going to be able to gamble that they're going to do a specific thing, which is worth noting.
True.
Okay, so where we at now, Mike?
Let me catch up on the round. So round 23, this was another like retake with a cam round that the cam had a lot of influence on, which I think Sean also pointed out. Cutler's cam towards A short, here you can see it now, stays up the entire time towards the late round. So even though Wardell gets picked here, they're pretty well set up between the trips and the camera to retake here, as long as Cutler stays alive. And he does a really good job with the cam. Not like people always
He really
panic.
did. Yeah.
People always like panic mark people, and he actually takes the time to like ping them instead of marking them.
Yeah, he even used that trip. That's the one I was using on my stream too when I played sapphiRe. I did the same thing. That's actually such a good trip when you're playing Heaven. I was so happy that it actually happened on the round that I pointed it out though, and he did such a good job pinging. Like, this is so sick. Instead of actually shooting darts and giving away the camp position, he's just pinging. That's so fucking smart. That's actually so sick.
Yeah, and even though like Sinatra is the only one on the site, like if that Brim didn't die planning, he could have at least marked one and then pinged the other, or pinged them both and then marked one when they noticed.
Yeah. And the fucking Phoenix walls, that way he can single off the guy under Balk. The Brim molly for short, the Brim all, like, dude. You know how hard it would be to hold that bomb site if you're if you're playing that game? Like, that's so fucking insane. Man, that looked so good. That looked real good.
I'm getting excited, just like reliving this.
Yeah. That's fucking so insane, actually. And it's all made possible because of that cam. Because like he can provide all the info so that way people know exactly how to use their abilities. They're not like sitting there thinking about it or like trying to coordinate with another teammate and blah blah blah. Like he's giving them every piece of information. That Cypher cam is so sick. Okay, I'm done. Next round.
No more cam talk for now. This round I just wanted to talk about strictly the observing because it's kind of a chaotic like C split that comes in, but I thought you captured like every like moment really well here. Like it didn't feel like you missed anything at all.
Yeah, this is one where I think I was actually talking about on the subreddit today is like one of the most important things that observers need to do is like you need a plan B and a plan C. So like if the guy you're on gets a kill or two and then he's not looking at anything else or he dies, like who are you going to next? And this is like okay, meanwhile like what was that Sinatra alting long, like I'm not even watching what he's getting, like if he's getting those kills, like I'm already looking at the radar and like okay, there's a garage attack here and I'm going to that next. And so this is all about making sure you have multiple plans as soon as the story unfolds and you got to go to something else, and it's just about like really quick switching. And it's definitely a little harder to do again with Valorant in that it's like okay, which cipher is that? Is that the one on my left hand or my right hand? um but yeah, I mean I was really happy with this round. I think it showed off some really exciting like 2Ks and 3Ks.
Dude, yeah, you did a really good job.
Yeah.
Fuck,
Actually,
I'm so glad you caught that Sinatra ult.
Yeah, yeah.
It's actually insane.
I actually I have a question for you with the observing, Heather. Like with this game, let's say you have a perfect world where you have, you know, the tools are in a place where it's as good as CS, let's say, whatever that equivalent might look like. Do you think this game is going to be harder to observe and or more enjoyable in certain ways? And why would that be if if it is the case?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's harder in that, you know, things like jet alts and up dash and everything, and it's just like a little more chaotic of like who's she gonna look at? Like what's her line of sight? So I think the line of sights aren't as clear in this necessarily. But it's kind of more exciting in that like there's things like okay, you know, following like a surveyor, you know, remember we used to like follow grenades and smokes in CS:GO, like following that would be really exciting to see like where are they lining this up and where is it ending. um I think, you know, like these Sova alts through the walls are actually pretty fun to watch. I think I don't know, and maybe this is just the CS bias in me, but like, you know, CS, I feel like, you know, a nice clean headshot is a little more satisfying to watch versus this.
Mhm.
Like, I think I'd be okay with a little more use of third person and just watching, you know, how these attacks are unfolding and how the abilities are being used. So I think there's different ways to look at it that make it pretty exciting. Um, yeah, it's hard to pick one or the other, but I mean, this is definitely fun with all the abilities, and it, it's still at its core, you know, a tactical shooter like we like in CS compared to something that's Overwatch, or as an example.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how it goes, because it has impressed me so far. I didn't expect it to be as put together or exciting, but at this point, so
That'd be
right.
so sick to get like third person shots of execs in this
Mhm.
game because there's so
True.
much different looks, like the
Yeah.
colors of all the abilities. It would look so cool. All right.
Right, what we got next?
So we'll watch this back a couple times. So first, I just wanted to bring up the random keys bug that Heather talked about because I
Oh
know
god.
both you and Prius just hate this so much.
Oh god, it's awful. I think the first, third, fifth, all those rounds are fine, and it's a like second, fourth, sixth. The keys are just random. I couldn't believe it. Oh my god. And so it doesn't actually look as bad as it feels when I went back and watched it. There's definitely a little more like aggressive clicking. And this was a bug when the game first came out and they fixed it. But when they switched to the overtime where you have to win by 2, that this bug came back, and it's just completely random keys. And then for multiple overtimes, every other round it's randomized again. So even if you learn that, okay, Wardell is going to be 2 on this random round, like nope, he's 4 now, and then he's 5, and so
That's so
so
random.
it's a little
That's awful.
hectic. And yeah, I feel I wanted to communicate to you guys, like, I'm sorry, I don't know what what to do. Yeah, hopefully, I mean, that immediately got reported to a few people at Riot, so hopefully they fix that.
Dude, by the way, this round was so sick. Like if you want to
Oh
go
yeah, yeah.
back to the
Yeah, so
start.
we'll
So
start over now.
The hero molly, right?
Well, that and just how they forced Wardell off the angle into long. Sean had a really good explanation in the VOD
yeah.
too.
So it's just so sick because you can see TSM doubling up long right now. Cutler throws the cam on the wall. Wardell is taking such a passive angle with his operator to let Cutler's cam tag them first. Watch. See, now Cutler's going to idle his cam. They didn't think about this until the setup probably first came out. But you can see Wardell is actually angled off, baiting the cam. And then that cam spots Cutler, so Cutler peeks out, so that way it doesn't spot Wardell, and then he runs away. So, like, they did everything they could to get Wardell to get this pick, but look at like how insane this is. They flash out, they shoot a recon at the corner, and they basically that's how they clear that out. And they know he has to fall back to site, so they know 2 people are now A, which is so sick. So they further push him back into the site. Meanwhile, they're going up C. So they actually have like a 1-on-4 at C. But Wardell is actually kind of moving around a little bit. I still don't. Yeah, he stays A. Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
so they actually
Subrosa
made
goes
the
up
right
garage.
call. It's just Hayes had like this god timing on this molly. Like I think Sentinels played this round really, really good. And this is just such like a high level of play coming back out of TSM. To sit on that molly for that late and to use it then knowing that it's just like the round's over. So sick.
And somehow either you call Sabrosa owning people. So this
Yeah,
is pretty dope.
a miracle.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to see, like, especially this is always a breath of fresh air watching the pro matches after playing a bunch of solo queue. I think this um like if you watch what's happening just on the mini map on the early round because of the early round pressure and just I mean at this level the amount of detail that as Sean was describing that goes in to creating that pressure or dealing with that pressure, like trying to facilitate a way for Wardell to get a pick, all that kind of stuff, like, and then at the same time there's still enough of an argument because they have eventually pushed Wardell back that it does feel like there's a heavy level of threat towards the A site because all of that forward control has been taken away. And so again, like if you're someone that plays a lot of matchmaking, like start to understand this idea that I feel like I'm talking to all these people that I've been playing with on my team today. So understand that pressuring the map and forcing people back and taking away information creates a very high amount of threat to certain positions. And if you understand how to exploit that rotation and you understand the window of time you have until they themselves maybe figure out that, hang on, maybe they're not coming here, then you can, then if you've acted in that window and you're already somewhere else, you've outpositioned their entire rotations for the onto a site to defend that site that you're actually hitting. In that instance, it will C. So yeah, pressure is extremely important. That's what defaults are generally designed to do, is to obscure what you're doing and to create pressure. So I just wanted to get that in there.
Flame people in matchmaking again that are
Yeah.
listening
Yeah.
to you in every VOD now. If there's other rounds we want to highlight, we can go back to those, but I just wanted to bring up a few things from Heather's notes that we didn't exactly cover the rounds for, and we can kind of brainstorm maybe ideas to improve observing and maybe just the UI in general. So one of the things was there's no like progress bar for defuse when spectating others, right?
Yeah, so I've then got to make a choice. Like in CS:GO now, I don't have to make a choice. I can show what I think is going to be the most exciting, and the casters in the audience know the progress of the diffuse. Compared to this, we don't have any sort of progress bar. So I think there's a round actually coming up where Dell is going for a diffuse, and normally I'd switch to the person that's spamming his smoke. But I don't want to do that because I want to see if he's going to finish this diffuse. So, or how close he got when he potentially died. So that's one, like, should be an easy fix I think that they should add, but it just adds a lot. So I don't have to keep switching back and forth between two people.
That's actually insane for that kill. But yeah, that is
That's like his
a
signature
jumping
move.
classic, dude.
He's done that so many times now, it's insane. One of the other things I was going to mention too is like, there's a few different options in CS in terms of like who's alive and who's not in the round. But in this game, it's just like the giant red X over the characters model, which feels really confusing like late round when you're trying to identify who's actually alive or not.
Yeah, especially when there's an X over a team that's colored in red. Like I think again coming up, I think Cutler's in a 1v2, and like I'd always switch to the person in a 1v2. Like that's just so natural, but it just didn't pop up in my eyes. Like I'm viewing this very quickly, that he was like the last person standing. It's not really clear, especially I think the brimstone causes some kind of it's harder to see too his axe at a very very quick view. So I think that's something I'd like to see, just being more obvious that people are alive or dead.
I feel like
It's certainly better though than when the game came out where it's like it just eliminated the
yeah, there's not even on the screen at all.
yeah.
Or they all turn into phoenixes or whatever that
Yeah.
was for a while.
I think one of the biggest things, I don't know, I haven't expressed this to anyone. I don't know if it's just me, but like when you play the game, you're always green and the opponent's always red, right? Um, but as a viewer, it's like, okay, defenders are what are they? Green and attackers are red, and then the teams swap. I don't know. That just feels weird to me.
Mhm.
The game should be the same whether you're playing or you're viewing it. Um, so I feel like it's not a change to the spectator HUD. It's a change to the player experience itself. That like those colors are always based on the side you're on.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It is pretty confusing.
It confused the
I
shit
got
out of me.
confused by it too when we were casting.
Yeah.
Maybe if they switch from like the red X thing as well to made like the character stays as it does now, but it grays out their color profile, so at least they're still appeared, but you can tell it apart a little bit differently and still identify what character it is.
Yeah, I think that could be helpful.
I wonder what I never thought about this before, but like, isn't red-green colorblind the most common kind of colorblind, and that's like what you're forced to watch these matches in? I could be wrong on that,
Yeah,
but
no, I've heard that too. I don't think this is colorblind friendly. Yeah.
Right. We
Should we go to the next round?
yeah.
yeah, I'm just kind of playing through the round, so I was trying to think of other things with the observing. I think definitely just with like UI on the sides, like CS with guns and money, like we addressed earlier.
It's so ridiculous that he gets 2 shock dart kills. I feel like this match, like so many things went right with Sinatra's abilities. Like
yeah,
so many blind ults like this just connect.
When he
So many
plays
shock darts
Sova
hit.
too, like sometimes he doesn't even run at people with guns. He runs at them with like his bow drawn. Like that's his fucking primary gun. It's insane.
He does make it like Sova look really aggressive. It's amazing. It's like so the way he takes initiative is just like amazing. Just with every agent that he plays, he's so good at taking initiative and causing problems.
Okay, let's get to the start of the next round. I feel like we haven't gotten to talk about one.
Yeah, I think this was like they were trying to take C aggression. Hayes kind of got away with this long C aggression quite a few times in the match. They punished him here, but I remember there was a few rounds in a row where he was just able to walk up long C and get a pick.
Yeah. So he was basically just trying to get ahead of that brim smoke that they throw every round, pretty much, probably. Just to deny C vision. He just thought he could get in front of it. Sancho did a really good job of early trading. He kind of set the precedent, actually, several times throughout this match. So that Hayes probably couldn't do that. So it's pretty risky that Hayes did it.
It's interesting, like the switch of focus away from a lot of the A heavy pressures in this like portion of the game. It started to become so much about C.
Yeah. Well, this round, I'm sorry, not Cutler. Dapper did Cage and Cam the cross. So like no one's pushed A. They know no one. They know they. But it's weird. They didn't push it back enough to force two people to play A, which ultimately I think is why this round failed. Like if they actually did push back A and force two people to play there, this C hit probably works, especially in a 5-on-4.
I was kind of hoping this 1v3 as well, he would at least use his molly to try to like isolate at least one angle. So, because even though you have this cover here, they can still swing out and pinch you.
Yeah. Yeah, he probably should have used his molly to like take a fight.
Yeah, I remember being really surprised about that too. I was just thinking like to me the question was which angle will he molly? The one with two players or one? And that was like the interesting question in my mind when I was watching that initially. But yeah, maybe he just felt like his chances to win it were so bad, like he just had a lot of respect that he wanted to make sure that he kept it.
Shit, thanks for the sub, Mr. Soggy Biscuit.
Thanks to the sub, man. All right, welcome to the Immortal Minds Club. You should get in the Discord as well if you're not already in there.
May Zoms was just thinking about that tweet ahead of time they made where Ryder paying them to rig it to make the storyline sick or whatever he said after the match.
This is just a dry peak long. That's crazy that they did that this deep in the match, like 15-15. He just jump peaks long as Jet. Shazam definitely doesn't expect that. I'm sure he had his crosshair placement for like the run out or even like a cage peek or something. There's no way he expected someone to just jump peek it. I thought that was weird, by the way, in the match when Cutler threw that cam. I was like, man, why doesn't he just like take the cam for the site?
Yeah, exactly. I noticed that too. It's like you're probably going to take the site after that pick. At least use it for the retake instead of watching the flank because you already have that trip there for the flank. So
yeah. Well, that trip is trash, to be fair.
Yeah.
Someone could jump on the planner over it, but I guess he could have double tripped it if he wanted to.
I think Sick as well has like the best uses, I think, for some of the Phoenix walls. I know, I'm trying to remember what round it is. It's pretty late into this, but he walls off this entire back C area to isolate that fight against Wardell, I think, at back box. But I feel like very few people are using the Phoenix walls that effectively in general.
Yeah.
It's
He's
interesting. I wanted to make a point there as well. I remember when I was first watching that, it reminds me of that classic situation in CS, but it's on Haven. It's a little bit more complicated, where like when you go down a player in an important round, you kind of like the question is, do you just go and stack one site of the two sites and then just play to hold the site that's harder to retake or something like that? Some logic like that. Because your other option to mitigate the fact that you're down a player is to mitigate that disadvantage is to maybe get information. But a lot of teams in CS try to set up information traps so that they can punish you and then just guarantee the round. So then you have this situation where you are maybe encouraged to gamble stack a site. But in this instance, you can see that like they are pretty spread out still, and there's 3 sites on this map, so it's not like it's really difficult, and like everything's going to be hard to retake in this kind of scenario. I feel like. So I was just like curious, like, what do you think it would have been the best? Like, given what they saw before this push comes in, they're down in a 4 versus 5. What do you think is? Do you think they did the best thing in terms of their rotations?
I mean, yeah, it's pretty difficult at this when you get picked like that on A. A is so weird because it's like not that sick to play the A side itself, like rotating in. I don't know. You'd have to have like some kind of plan setup. I thought Sick did a good job with the wall. He just probably shouldn't have gone through it when he did.
Yeah, they were a little bit too aggressive on the retake there. I forget who
Yeah.
on TSM they were. I think it might have been Drone in the post match was talking about like in the series before they were always caught off guard like how aggressive Sentinels were like in these retakes and stuff, which
Yeah.
kind of showed there because I think Sinatra like jumps out heaven through a smoke and stuff like that.
Yeah. I thought TSM's hit was really sick though. How they mollied the rotate in
Yeah.
to like keep those guys in the side alone for a little bit. I kind of miss what happened.
Yeah, I want to
round,
replay
not
this
gonna lie.
round too.
Yeah, I'll rewind it quick since we were talking.
They got into garage like so easily on this round. So yeah, so there's no one playing C window or anything like that in this round, and they just drone through. They put the drone in front of the Phoenix as the classic.
So Zom smoked top C long and is just playing super passive. That's
Ooh,
like absurd. That kill went down like that.
yeah, that's unfortunate
And
for
then they just
Sapphire's.
literally run through the garage smoke and kill Hayes. Hayes actually smoked that off and they just ran through it anyway.
Okay.
I feel like at this point in the game that like it was very, very loose and puggy.
Gloves were off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a rough situation to like lose a gunfight like that, and like the implications of it are so huge because of the pace of Sentinels here. It always surprises me in this game, like compared with CS. With CS, maybe it's just like an experience thing. Maybe it'll change in this game, but in CS, it always feels like you can kind of have a pretty good idea at the pro level what will happen, which kind of makes it even more hype to a degree when a pro does something that's really nuts and somehow defies those odds. But in this game, I always feel like, oh, these guys have the advantage, and then they just get smashed or something like that. And I feel like I struggle to see it coming sometimes on these retakes in particular.
It's like someone has a fucking ace up their sleeve every time in this game.
Yeah.
Well, it's
It's
kind
so
of like
crazy.
what you were talking about earlier too, like in that 4v5 scenario where it's either like you need to either play super defensive on one site and maybe retake if you're in a good enough position, or you need to get info. I feel like in this game, if you opt out of the gain info sometimes, like people opt out of it even though you have tools like Cypher and Sova, which should gain you that info like to make a decision late round. But I feel like people don't always like utilize it or time it correctly.
Dude,
Oh yeah, this was a sick wall from
this
spawn.
is the wall, right?
The
Yep.
wall,
This
yeah.
is so insane, man. Look at this
My
fucking
God.
wall, bro. This is so insane.
It's
That's so mad.
And then it drops, and now Hayes is just like falling. It's just like, what? How the fuck did they win this round, man?
This is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, you have
Like-
them completely written off, and it's like, oh, they just
A
crushed
Cypher
it.
just swings out garage and kills you
Yeah.
both.
Yeah, this
I'm
is
sorry,
the one where
it
like
didn't win that
Brim,
round.
like I couldn't really tell that there was a red X on him, and I'm like, okay, this is a 2v2. I was like, no, it's clutching.
I think it's just because like Cutler's so passive towards garage here,
Yeah.
like the entire time that they didn't even really think of it as an option.
This is, by the way, why Viper is going to be absolutely nuts. And, like, because Viper can do that shit in like so many different ways. And I really hope we start seeing like more Viper players at the pro level in these kinds of matches, because I feel like she can just slot in. I don't think that you're going to lose a lot if you get a Viper in at this point, because she's been buffed so much. I don't know if you guys agree with me. I feel like I'm out in the
I just
in the desert
remember
all
in
alone with my
I
Viper.
don't,
I just remember
Oh,
in
no.
ranked when you played Viper during a retake and we had like 3 duelists and they all baited you with your walls. So that's all I think of when I think of Viper retakes. I feel like it's really hard though to like save your wall for that long into the round and
Yeah, it'd
use
be
it
really hard
solely
to save
for a
it that deep.
retake.
That
It's
dark
fine.
gives so much info.
Just play only retake.
Just play in
Setups.
spawn the entire time.
So Hayes just like super passive outside C. That's the same thing Zoms was doing, like around this area. Push back A, force 2 people to play A. And then they're just like rotating back towards C. This is just, I don't know. I just feel like that's a little bit stale from Sentinels. They got lucky that no one was around here, but they got very unlucky that Sorzo owned them.
Yeah.
Like I still feel like they should have probably ended up winning this round. Sinatra's fucking so insane. Just jumping class.
That's like his second move after the bow. It's always jumping classic. No rifle or anything, just jumping classic.
One thing, if we can go back to the beginning of that round, that I wanted to briefly mention was the setup on the defense for Sentinels, where they have basically is Sentinels on defense, right?
They're not attacking.
Attack. Okay, so whoever's on the defense doesn't actually matter too much. But they have a two players in garage, and that's like their setup, and they ignore C completely. They don't even have any utility there at all. And I think that's like kind of an interesting way to play. It kind of reminds me of on binds when the same idea when you have like, let's say 2 players hookah, you give up long, or vice versa. You give up hookah and play 2 on long, basically making sure that you try to lock down one position, and you're kind of thinking about playing retake on the site, but you want to hold that ground that they need to guarantee that they win post plant. And that's like a really important idea in this game, because the amount of times I've seen teams that confidently take a site, but they don't have, like, let's say U-Haul control on bind or something, and they only have the short position to play from, stuff like that. It's too fragile in this game. You need post plant positions. So I do wonder if we would see more stuff like that as teams get more comfortable playing retakes.
I think teams are definitely getting better. Like, I know when the competitive scene first started, it felt like people were awful at retakes just because they didn't know how to space out their utility just yet. But like these retakes we're seeing, whether it's like a Phoenix wall or just like a Brim smoke, it feels like people are way more effective. And I think Cypher cams are becoming way more impactful in these late round scenarios than they were before, because people just kind of leave them in these lurking positions rather than, oh yeah, I can just wait, have it on the site, not activate it until I actually need it, instead of people that would kind of just pop it whenever, but it would just get destroyed.
Indeed. I mean, with that said, I'm actually aware we this is actually the longest VOD review we've ever done.
Yeah, we're running late.
And so I wanted to, as we are so late, I wanted to quickly give people the opportunity to ask any questions to Heather if they have any questions about observing, as we have Heather here. So throw your questions in the chat if you have any observing questions in terms of Valorant and want to get sapphiRe's thoughts on some stuff. And we'll just run this for a little bit before we close it out today. And in the meantime, I don't know if you guys have any additional thoughts about this series or this rivalry, or what you think the future holds. Because
Dan,
I know
did you
that
listen to the post game interview, by the way, after the finals of Hayes?
I actually didn't listen to it yet. I need to go back.
You gotta go back and listen to it, bro. It's spicy. It's spicy. It's
I love
awesome.
Hayes.
It's
Hayes
actually
is
fucking
amazing.
awesome. So like, That makes me so excited to watch these teams play. That like increased my interest like tenfold, and I was already loving it. It's like, oh, they actually hate each other? I thought it was all just like a troll. They actually hate
WWE.
each other. It's awesome.
I mean, it set up a perfect storyline too for the next day, and like that's why it's like record-breaking viewership. I mean, we need that. I think we need that, especially like in this, early time of an esport. Like, gets people super excited about, not just the gameplay but the storylines.
Level has
Thank-
one question. What the biggest challenge when it comes to Valorant observing is for you currently?
Um, there's two things. It's using pictures over numbers really, and especially there's a lot of, well, this is a mirror matchup, I'll call it. So you're just seeing a Sova. I have to learn not just one key. I have to learn two keys. I have to learn which Sova's on which side, and it just takes a little more thought process. And then just not having easy access to information on like utility weapons, um, who has an op. No one really does like gun swapping as much in this game as we see in CS. Sometimes someone has low HP, they'll drop their op, but just keeping track of the weapons and the abilities, to predict what they're about to do is definitely far more difficult because I don't have that information immediately on the HUD. I either have to bring up the scoreboard or I have to keep switching around to players to get that information.
Right, we've got another question from Peak. Do you plan on continuing observing Valorant when CS:GO is back in full swing?
Yeah, definitely. I want to do them both. If
Yeah.
that's possible. I've actually been fortunate to play this game for many years before it actually came out, because of Sal Volcano, and I've really enjoyed it. There's not many games that get me excited outside of CS:GO, and this is definitely one of them. So if I have the ability to continue both, especially because I do this more as a hobby. I do have a full-time job at Dignitas, so this is a hobby, and um, so that means I'm not committed to like one certain tournament organizer. So I kind of flip around wherever I can get some work, and it's incredibly enjoyable to me.
Awesome. And the last question, we've got Rice Boy Brand. Are pistol rounds harder to observe than the rest?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I never thought about it, but I guess kind of in that like um you don't have any ops, which those are usually going to take like a first long engagement. Um you've got jets dashing in, so normally I just pick the person that's at the front of the line, and then you got some jets flying in. So yeah, I guess maybe you could say that. I've never really thought about it before. But yeah, there's definitely like less information available to know what teams are gonna do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sapphire, for joining us and giving us your thoughts and expertise in terms of observing and how it's going in Valorant. It's been awesome to have you on as our first guest. So thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks, Ellie.
Okay, so that's it. That's the end of this show today. We have another episode of our live show on Saturday at the usual time, 10 a.m. PDT. And so we'll see you guys for that. Make sure to follow the channel, join the Discord, and get yourself on those emotes if you are a sub, as we just got the emotes in today. If you have any suggestions as to what could be cool emotes for the future, throw some ideas in the Discord. We'd love to hear from you. And also, one last note about the Discord: we've had a lot of people using the channel that Mike's has put up to play with one another. Do you want to quickly talk to people about that, Mike?
Yeah, so I made a channel in the Discord so you can set your region and then what rank you are and then what different agents you play. So then if someone wants to play EU, whatever rank, they can ping you, then you'll get a notification. So it's pretty easy. And I know a lot of people have been queuing like 4 stacks or 5 stacks and they've been enjoying the experience a lot more rather than taking the risk Dan and Sean do every day of solo queuing. So
Yeah, that's all.
So like your grind, ain't it? Doesn't seem like it's it.
We're trying to help you guys out. So let us know what you think about it. If you want to see anything else, you can think of any improvements. We're always open to all the feedback. And thank you so much for tuning in today. That's all from Sean, sapphiRe, Mike, and I will see you next time. Cheers.
Peace out.